Hey, Michael, I've been hearing things about settle your debt with the IRS for
Mhm.
less.
Yes.
And a lot of ads that are kind of, I feel, maybe a little misleading in terms of what people can get out of an IRS settlement program. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, first of all, it's great working with Josh. I'm one of his partners, and I used to work for IRS. I worked for IRS for a decade, and one of my jobs was to accept and deny offers and compromise. So, yeah, I was one of the guys who had the pen that would accept or deny your offer. And what I find in this industry, it's sickening, Josh, as you know, people like Optima Tax and other companies advertise that they can settle your debt for pennies on a dollar. Well, last year in the United States, 13,000 people got their offer and compromise accepted. And some of the ads are so misleading. You hear about, as you know, the Fresh Start program. That program came out 13 years ago. It was useless then, and it's useless now. It's bait. So if you want to settle your debt, you need to go ahead and call us, especially Josh here, and he will go ahead and at least let you know if you're qualified. What the nice thing, Josh, I like about you is you do not charge anything until you look at whether somebody can have their offer accepted or not, right? So let's just talk about the calls you get.
What I've learned from you is to get the best exit strategy possible, and to do that in a way that I offer a free 30-minute consultation. We take a look at your financials, and we don't even have to get into the nitty gritty, and we have a very good idea of exactly how the IRS is going to see your case. And it's on that basis that we let you know how we can help you, if we can help you, with no misleading claims.
You're actually going to fill out the IRS form that IRS is going to look at for the offer. You can't do this any other way and get your offer accepted unless somebody looks at the exact form you're going to send in. And a lot of times we can look at that and modify it or change it or do things to make that better. And then at that time, if we think that your offer is ready to go, Josh will file it. If not, we hold back, we tell you what to do, and there may be other programs. There's only 2 other programs you can get into, and that's the currently non-collectible and the payment program. So Josh, when that call comes into you, what do you do during that 30 minutes to see if they qualify for a settlement?
Before I even, sorry to interrupt you, but before I even start with setting up a 30-minute consultation, I ask some qualifying questions to see if they're an appropriate candidate for any one of those IRS programs, because sometimes the debt that you owe isn't big enough to justify paying me or anybody else to settle your IRS debt. And then sometimes it might not be that you might have assets in excess you wouldn't qualify, that are currently not collectible. And then we had this gentleman who contacted us recently. He's got real estate and there's equity in his name. So the IRS looks at it 2 different ways: your income versus your expenses, also your assets versus your liabilities, what you owe, what you own, and what you get to have to spend.
We're going to cut that. That's just too complicated.
Too much.
That's too much. That one sucked. So we'll just keep going. We're going to crop that out. So when an IRS agent like myself is looking at your financial statement, I'm looking at 2 things mainly. I'm looking at how much, what your assets are. You cannot settle your case unless you have the true value of your assets. So if you have $100,000 worth of assets, you cannot submit an offer and compromise, as you know, Josh, unless the offer is $100,000. So that dismisses a lot of people. And then the other thing is they look at your income. And what's going to surprise most people, Josh, is the National Standard program. IRS, when you fill your form out for expenses, you put in what your expenses are, but IRS says, like I would say, no, you got to put in the IRS statistic program based on the Department of Labor statistics. So it's a kind of a setup, Josh, as you know, so we have to go with the national standards.
And they are abysmally low, but we do the best we can to get you the best exit strategy possible. So you can click the link below to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, or give us a call at besttaxpro.com, 763-477-4205, and we'll ask some qualifying questions and see if you're a candidate to set up a free 30-minute consultation.
Josh, let me just ask you, how long have you been in the business?
I've been doing taxes and helping people with taxes since 2003, so 21 years.
And how qualified are you?
I'm an enrolled agent, so I'm licensed to practice before the IRS in audits, collections, and appeals. And then I'm one of about 250 people in all history, 200 alive probably right now, that are licensed to sit before the U.S. tax court as a non-attorney. So I'm just as good as an attorney, just a different thing. Ask an attorney about a U.S. TCP. They'll tell you. They're pretty good.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I just want you to know that you have the real deal here. I have been doing this in my profession for 51 years. I've been on the national news. I've been on Fox Business twice. I've been on ABC. I was the first one to comment on the Donald Trump audit. Yes, every president gets audited. I've been on News Nation, Newsmax, CBS, ABC. So, we just have a wonderful team here with Josh. So you're going to find very honest people here, and that free consultation will let you know where to go from here. If someone tells you anything different than Josh tells you, they're lying to you.
I hope this has been helpful.
Thank you.
Break.
Okay, we go for the next one.
Then I'll know. Okay.
504.
504.
You're gonna, so here, what we need to set up is, Michael, I see that IRS is sending out a lot of CP 504s. Why are they doing that, and what's the next step, and what should a client do when they get that 504 notice?
Michael, last week I had this person come into my office. Now, they had filed bankruptcy and everything was all cleared. Then they started getting these letters from the IRS, and all of a sudden they get a CP 504. What are these letters for? The language seems very different, and it is fairly threatening. It scared them. They gave me a call. What can I tell them, or what can we do to help them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. IRS, from my understanding, sent out about 2 million in the last month, CP 504s. And my guess is if you got one of those notices and you were home, you had to sign for it, or just so you know, it's a certified notice, and that should scare you, because as an agent, IRS is ready to take action. You should understand that those letters go out systematically. There's nobody actually working that at IRS yet, but at the end of that 30-day letter, this is what's going to happen. You may get a federal tax lien, you may get a wage garnishment, or you may get a bank levy. So IRS sends this letter out as saying, hey, we're sending out certified, this is a big deal, these are fireworks for you, you have 30 days for you to call them, which is okay, or you contact somebody like Josh. Let me tell you though what happens, and listen, I don't care whether you do this yourself or not, but you have to understand this. When you call IRS, IRS is going to take your financial statement. For most people who call IRS, Josh, they wind up with a big payment agreement because they don't know what the national standards are. Josh is going to explain to you now what those standards are and why, if you're going to call by yourself, which you shouldn't do, what are those national standards, Josh?
You have a certain amount that the IRS allows you to take as a deduction for things like rent, food, clothing, household expenses. Your utilities that you pay might be high, but they might be
Josh,
too high.
we're cutting that part out. So just say that IRS has a national standards by the Department of Labor. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
The IRS has a national standard by the Department of Labor that's very specific, and they do some of them for the whole nation, but many of them local to your state and actually your actual county.
And if you want to know what those national standards are, this is what you Google. IRS national standards for, let me repeat it, you're going to Google IRS national standards for food and clothing, for housing and utilities, for car payments, and what you actually for car expenses. And they're going to be very low because the Department of Labor not only takes where you live, but your entire county. And when you take that into consideration, Josh, it drops down significantly, doesn't it?
Yeah. The standards are abysmally low. Nobody could live on the amount that the IRS says are standards for living, but that's what you get to deduct. So you can't deduct everything. You can deduct the national standards.
Yeah, so anyway, at the end of the day, at the end of that 30-day letter, the best thing that you can do is have a professional stand between you and the IRS, because when they look at your financial statement, three things are going to happen. Only three things. A, you're going to either want to look at your financial statement, they're either going to put you in hardship, currently non-collectible. They may say, hey, you're going to get on a payment plan you're not going to like, or you can file for an offer and compromise to settle your debt for pennies on a dollar. But Josh, before they settle for pennies on a dollar, what do they need to know?
Before you settle for pennies on the dollar, you need to know there's a special application for that, and there's a lot of details that go into the offer and compromise. Probably 25 to 30% of the people that apply for that program get approved. All the other ones are denied. How many got approved last year?
In the entire United States, only 13,000 offer and compromise were accepted. On my team and our team is Peter Salinger. Peter has looked at over 3,500 offers and compromise. He was a supervisor. He was the first level to sign off. So if you're going to even consider settling your debt for pennies on a dollar, you really need to go to true experts and not salespeople. So many times, if some of you people are shopping and they call us and they say, well, this company said that, we have to be truthful with them, don't we, Josh?
Right, and we look at your case from your perspective. Everybody's tax situation is unique and different. So we want to get the best outcome for you to get you the best exit strategy from your tax problem possible. Yeah. So click on the link below to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, or give us a call at 763-477-4205. And like Mike said, take advantage of the fact we've got Peter, we've got Michael, we've got tax attorneys, we've got the best staff on our team to help you get the best exit strategy possible.
And Josh, when they call you, sometimes you are very humble and you come across like chopped liver. Could you explain who you are so they know a little about you too?
I am an enrolled agent, which there's probably 64,000.
What is an enrolled agent actually
It's someone
mean?
who's licensed to practice before the IRS in audits, collections, and appeals. I'm also like a super enrolled agent. Pretty special. I'm a United States Tax Court Practitioner. Nobody knows what that means, but I'm a person who's passed an exam, so I'm licensed to practice before the U.S. Tax Court as if I were an attorney without being an attorney, and I'm a tax expert. So fairly unique qualifications. I serve this unique niche of people who have tax problems that need to get them resolved with the IRS.
And also, Josh, you do state work, so just know that. Josh does everything across the United States. So it's really a pleasure to be on this team. We are very honest, we're trustworthy. We have never had a complaint ever filed against us ever, and we all get golden reviews. So thank you so much for listening, Josh. I love being on your team.
Awesome, thank you very much for your help, Mike. I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Right, payroll tax debt.
Okay, payroll tax debt. 1, 2, 3. Mike, I heard earlier today something about somebody who owed payroll tax debt. What does that all entail? And is that just one tax, or are there 4 taxes?
Well, let me tell you about payroll tax. First of all, I'm a former IRS agent. I worked for IRS at a decade. I've been in private tax defense by myself and with Josh for many years. As an IRS agent, the #1 collection that we went after was payroll tax. Why is that? It's not a tax. It's money that you held in trust for and that money was supposed to go over, Josh, as you know, to the United States government. Since it wasn't a tax and you held that money in trust like a bank, IRS is going to say, hey, you need to pay that money over because it's not even a tax. So IRS is going to go after that like you would not believe. So the thing you have to know is IRS not only is going to try to collect the money from the corporation. If you're personally responsible for that corporation, IRS can set a trust fund penalty up against them, Josh, and you're going to be held responsible for about maybe 65% of that 941 debt. So this is why you need to have someone step in between the IRS and you. So tell us about that.
And having someone like myself, an enrolled agent, step in between you and the IRS buys you a number of different things. It'll buy you some time, a little time to breathe, and it'll also give you peace of mind knowing that your case is being handled by somebody who's familiar with the landscape of working with the IRS. Because I rely on experts like Mike, who used to work at the IRS, and the other members on my team that I have to help me solve anything.
Yeah, and the two things, if you're hearing this and you have unfiled returns, the first thing the IRS agent is going to ask when they used to knock on the door today, they send you a 725B letter. They're going to want to know, are all your tax returns filed and are you current? Josh, when I say, are you current, what does that mean?
Well, have you filed all your taxes is one thing, and you need to file the last 6 years, but are you current is unique for self-employed individuals because you have to pay your quarterly ES payments. And if you haven't paid those, you're not current. So you have to have your current ES payments as well as all of your last 6 years of tax returns.
Time out, let's cut that. Now you're talking about 1040s, but we're talking about the 941, so there's no ES payments. We're talking about the federal tax deposits.
Okay.
So let's just do a cut. So right now, Josh, at this point in time, when I say they have to be current, what does that mean?
That means that their quarterly payments have to be made. They withhold tax from their employees, their federal tax, Social Security, and Medicare, and the matching portion all has to be paid and current for the quarter. So there's 4 quarters for the year.
Okay, we're gonna cut here, Josh. I want you to go a lot slower. You're rushing through this. Just talk to me. We're just gonna do this. Talk to me in a normal conversation.
Okay, so they have to have their 941 taxes.
Slower.
Their 941 taxes withheld.
Yeah.
And that includes their federal tax that they withheld from their employees.
That's
and
how
their
I want
Social
you to
Security.
talk.
Okay.
You have to talk slowing down. You're rushing through this. So here we go. Josh, when I say a company has to be current, what does that mean?
That means that they have to have all of the taxes that they have withheld from their employees' wages.
That's it, yeah.
Their federal taxes, the Social Security taxes, and the Medicare wages that they withheld from their employees' wages, in addition to the Social Security and Medicare wages that the employer matches.
Stop. You're just gonna say you gotta make a current federal tax deposit to show IRS that you're current. So, Josh, when I say that they have to be current, what does that mean?
That means that they have to have a federal tax payment on a quarterly basis and they have to be current. That means for this quarter.
Yeah, exactly. So as an agent, I'm going to go ahead and look at and make sure you've made your federal tax deposit. So at the end of the day, what is IRS going to do if I'm working your case as an agent? I'm going to look closely at your personal financial statement to make sure maybe you haven't taken money out of the business, but I'm going to really drill down on the business financial statement. And what they're going to look at is they're going to look at your income and they're going to look at your expenses and they're going to make sure you're not taking money out of that company, and they're going to want to know if you have enough money to cover your expenses, and maybe sometimes they'll recommend that you actually go out of business because you're really upside down. Josh, I know you're honest with people, so when you see this problem where they can't pay their 941s and you see that business just kind of sinking, what are you going to do at that point?
I'm going to call you and we're going to work together with you to get them into a currently not collectible state so that they can't pay their payroll taxes. Well, pound sand, IRS.
Time out. Yeah, so anyway, just want you to know that for a business and a payroll tax, you can actually file an offer in compromise to settle the debt, but you're going to need someone like Josh.
You should start that over because I was looking really goofy. Okay.
Okay. What was I saying?
I was over here. So
okay. What were we?
What you can't afford to pay your payroll tax?
Oh yeah. Another thing you need to know is people don't know this. It's kind of a secret, but you can go ahead and file an offer in compromise to settle your debt on a 941 tax, which is really cool. And Josh has that expertise to look at your financial statement to see whether you should be in business. Let me just tell you guys a really quick story. It's important you understand this because we deal with a lot of businesses. When the Titanic and the captain knew that the Titanic was going to sink after it hit that iceberg. The people were on the deck, and they didn't know what to do, and there was a lot of confusion. The captain said to the band that was playing on the deck, "Play the music louder." This boat was sinking. So many of you are operating businesses, and Josh, as you know, if they can't pay their federal tax deposits, sometimes it's the Titanic that they're sinking, and you have to really tell them what they need to do really to move forward. It's a tough decision, but you do that, right? How do you do that?
Exactly. You just have to have your estimated payments taken care of, and if you can't do that, then you need to file an offer and compromise.
No. You're just, here we go. So Josh, when you look at a financial statement and you know that somebody can't keep up with their 941 tax deposits, do you recommend sometimes it's really time to go out of business?
It is really time to go out of business, and you shouldn't really just play the music louder. It's time to throw in the towel.
Yeah, so anyway, if you got that 941, you're running this business and I know you don't have that income to keep up, it's time to maybe go ahead, talk to Josh and make some sort of business plan even to go forward, or what, maybe it's time to do something else. So
if you have any questions about payroll taxes, or your tax problem is unique and special and you'd like us to take a look at it, give us a call at 763-477-4205 or click the link below and take advantage. We've got enrolled agents, we've got former IRS revenue officers, we've got a great team here. So give us a call, and I hope to hear from you soon.
thank you. Let's do a bonus one.
Okay. That's going to be a